Good Fanfest so far. Yeah. How was the hangover trip yesterday? Did you like it? Okay, well, let's get this show on the road. So, my dev name is CCP Terbium. I am a senior game designer for EVE Online. I've been here for a while, and I'm usually not really a social creature. I like to stay in the dark and like pulling strings when I can. But today I wanted to make an exception and talk to you guys because I'm really excited to talk about this stuff, structure coming, and watch the old structure burn in glorious fire. So, one thing of note, like you may have noted right now, I have a weird French accent, sacre bleu. Don't panic. There is a blog coming out at 3 today, 3 o'clock, which should hopefully be written in proper English. And you should be able to understand that in case you don't understand me right now. But I will try to speak real slow for. So, future vision of structures. So you guys have had some hints on what's going to happen from CCP Nullarbor on the keynote. And I'm here today on behalf of my team, Game of Drones, and CCP to show you a glimpse of the light at the end of the tunnel. So first off, regarding the team, we have been investigating current structures since last quarter of 2014, and those are the various team members that have been on this project. If you have questions about this presentation or structures in general, don't hesitate to poke us. If you are not happy with the things we have been discussing so far, please don't punch us in the face. Try to be constructive on your feedback. Regarding this part of existing structure investigation, I had a long... Oh, it's the old one. Okay, I had a long study about this, but I just wanted to skip it because you guys already know how existing structures work, and it's boring, and we are not here to talk about existing stuff. So I'm going to move fast forward, if you don't mind. Bloop, 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 bloop. Here we go. It's So, the goals on what we want to have for a new structure system. Again, showed to you during the keynote, so it'll be relatively fast. First one is how to support and enhance existing gameplay. We want the structures as they are right now, like they're supporting industry or manufacturing, research, staging, and we want the new ones to do that as well. I mean, we don't want a new mini-game on anchoring or linking the structures. We don't think it's the best use of our time. We want to support what they currently do and what you guys currently do with those. Then we want everyone who wants to use a structure does with a little dot at the end because EVE is all about exceptions. Got to love them. So we want to make sure that we remove any kind of hassle that prevent players from using those structures. But the little dot at the end is to make sure that we follow the risk versus reward ratio here. Come on. We have a strong connection with the player. We want you guys to feel connected to the structures, like when you guys, back in the days, back in the good old days, when you deployed the first Titans, and you felt, fuck yeah, we are going to kick asses with this big 15-kilometer ship. We want those structures to matter to you, to be important to you as well. And this is not working. We want structure combat to be more exciting, like move away from NPC AI-controlled guns that can't focus fires, that do weird things, and you just can exploit them with an interceptor or beating the structure. And we want this to be more like ship combat, and we want those structures to support asymmetrical warfare, so they are better at defending themselves against blob of ships coming in to spank you. We want those to be visually aspirational. We want those to be massive. We want those to have different state shown depending like what you are doing with them. If a structure is active, well, maybe you could have the lights on. You could have like drilling parts just rotating faster if you are using more of the drilling things. For example. We want the system to be extensible, future-proof, and unifying to avoid the post-code issues we have right now. No matter what we do, like new features are an iteration process. We deliver some chunks, see how it goes, and we may take some away or give new stuff for you guys. And we don't want the system to be in a way. We want the system to be flexible. Next, we want to have more interesting locations in space, which is again something that Labor told you guys. We want to be able to have structures all over the place and not necessarily bound to a moon or a planet. In the first place, of course, within reason, so you're not blabbed to death as soon as you warp out of a Stargate, for example. Simple and intuitive to deploy, manage, and use, so you can just drag and drop, and like you don't have 2,000 states, so you don't have like those weird reaction linking. Like, who here tried reactions? Yeah, you guys are still alive. Yeah, congratulations. So, and like we want a recurrent progression between all structures. So, for example, right now, if I am a new player and I'm starting in a combat frigate, there is a ship tree or the very aptly called ISIS tree to just guide you through the different steps, and you can do show info to look where am I and set goals for yourself. For the structures, we want the same thing. Like we want you guys to be able to say, well, I'm starting with this small ammo manufacturing, and in 5 years from now, I'm going to take over ISEC and have like my manufacturing stuff all over the place. And finally, encourage interaction between group of players. Of course, for most of you, interaction means destruction, but there is also cooperation, you know, like I'm just saying, and we want like that to be promoted as well whenever possible with those new structures. Okay, the new structure system, let's dive into it. Some word of warning, this is work in progress, don't tell your mom. This is like high-level concepts, and we are telling you guys months in advance, so we can have some more or less healthy discussion. I would prefer if they are more healthy about construction and what's going to happen with those. So don't freak out just yet. And the other word of warning is that, as the Labor said, your stuff is safe for now. We are not going to use Fanfest to remove all of your structures and run away with all your stuff. No, it's still going to be there when you guys go back into TQ. Or Serenity, depending where you're coming from. So with that in mind, we had a look for the new system and what do you guys like? What do you like doing in a spaceship game? Well, it seems that you guys enjoy, you know, controlling those spaceships in the first place, whatever your profession is, like you may do mining, exploration, pew-pew combat, or like various stuff with them. And something that you like as well is fitting those with various models. Because there is gameplay there, depending on the role of the ship, depending on what you do with it, you are going to fit it on different manners. And that's a gameplay we would like to have now with structures. So instead of having, for example, a starbase with a control tower, and every time you want to do or add a new functionality to it, you have to use a green deployment box of doom with those little arrows that you can't even right-click because they are so small it's annoying. We want to have those baked into models. And with introducing those models, they will follow the same pattern we have with ships. So first, you will have high slots, and those will be mainly like weapons, like turret, launchers, smart bombs, or remote assistance stuff. You could also have carp warfare, like neutralizers or Nosferatus here. Nothing new. Then you have mid slots with something you guys love, like EW and ECM, sensor dampening, tracking disruption, and so on. Electronic upgrades, if you want to improve like the attributes of your structure, or sensor upgrades. And then we have low slots with all the stuff tied to engineering, weapons upgrade, expanded cargo holds if you feel like you want to make your structure very vulnerable to ganks. So far, like with those 3 slots, your structure is not doing anything special. Like it's just mimicking ship gameplay, and it's static. But now, if you want to do stuff that a structure currently does, you are going to need to use service slots. And those will allow you to do the activities NPC stations do right now, like industry activities, like manufacturing, or research, reprocessing, harvesting, or reactions, or even new kind of structure operation that we are going to talk about later. Those, of course, will be limited. Depending on the structure, you may have 1 to 8. So you are going to have to choose and pick which one or how many of those models you want. And of course, they will be limited by fittings as well. So it's going to be fitting game on which kind of specialization do you want on your structure. Do I want to have a shape assembly array? Well, then I'm going to drag and drop shape assembly into this. Or maybe I want research time efficiency for my blueprints, and I will do the same. But now I may run out of slots and or fittings. Another thing I would like to mention here is that right now, when you want to deploy a starbase, it's a bit annoying. And I'm underestimating, yep. Like you deploy it, and you first have to anchor it, and then it jumps away because you can't do it near a warping point, so it just jumps 100 kilometers away, and you have to chase it. Then you have to fuel it, and then you have to online it. The fuel part, we're not that really happy about because it feels frustrating, like to always be competing against the system. You feel like you always have to pour water, and like, there is always a hole where the water just goes out, and there is nothing you can do. Instead, we would like the fuel to be tied to the service slot. So if you just anchor and deploy one of those new structures, you're not going to use fuel by default, unless you start doing a lot of manufacturing or science or reprocessing or harvesting, and then the fuel is going to be tied to those service slot models there. So it will be more dynamic cost based on how and when you use a structure. And of course, the last one we want to talk about are rigs. And those are going to work like rig do on chips right now. If you put one here inside, you cannot take it out without destroying it, so you have to be careful. But unlike ships, those will be a lot more specialized. So to take the example we mentioned before, if I want to do ship manufacturing, I'm going to insert the ship manufacturing module into the service slot. But unlike current ship assembly arrays, I won't get any ME or TE bonuses for it. To get those bonuses, I will need to start inserting the rigs, which would be like ship assembly array, or depending on the size, it could be medium ship assembly array, and you just drag and drop this in, and then you have the bonuses. Of course, you only have, like, on this concept, 3 rig slots there, so it's more specialized. You won't be able to do as broad capability as current starbases do with most of our structures. We have to pick and choose. But to compensate, we are going to allow you guys to specialize further. So for example, again, with ship manufacturing, if I want to improve ship ME and TE, well, I could treat 3 rigs and go beyond what existing starbases or even outposts allow you to do with upgrades in general. Of course, there will be stacking penalized because we love stacking penalizing things. So that's approximately how the fitting is going to work. Of course, it's subject to change. We may have more than 3 rig slots or like whatever. Like, don't get hung up in the details so far. Regarding the size. So right now, if you have a look at size for structures, that is an avatar, Titan, 15 kilometers. Let's say it's 15 kilometers here. If you have a look at deployables, it's a tiny spot of 100 meters at most. It's usually around 50 meters. Then you have custom offices. They are, if I remember properly, around 10 kilometers in height. You have starbases, and yeah, you can see the force field here. It's usually 65 kilometers in diameter, if I took the measurements right. Control tower is 7 kilometers in height, and the CSAA is 24 kilometers in length. And then you have outposts, which are usually around 45 kilometers, except like you have the Galente outpost, which is 52. And those are the current sizes. One thing you can notice is that some of the time, or even most of the time, the function is tied to the size. So if I want more office slots, well, I have to go for outpost, because the Starbase or customs office are not delivering new office slots, and or I have to use NPC stations, which is annoying. So instead of using this model for the new structures, we want to follow the same size pattern that, once again, we have with ships, which means going for S, M, L, and XL stuff. And the thing to note here is that if we see the good gameplay in giving you guys a M module, so M a service module that can go into M structure that gives you office lot, well, we just might do it. And also, unlike the current system where you can only build outposts in specific places, there is nothing preventing us from having the Excel structure equivalent in HiSec. Like if you want to build there, if you have a big alliance, if you are willing to support it, go right ahead. Of course, before you guys start throwing tomatoes in my face, the Empire may not allow you to use the most powerful rigs in HiSec because it may imply doing weird, kinky things with your workforce or having cramped quarters. So if you want the best abilities, the best rig ability, you may want to anchor those and deploy those in low and nullsec. But again, nothing is preventing you as a corporation or a small alliance in HiSec to go for the Excel size. It may cost you a lot, but you can still do it. So after sizes, we have roles. And for roles, I'm going to use the example of the rock battleship. So you can use the rock battleship for a lot of, well, for various purposes. And if you want, you can just fit it with mining lasers. OK, I'm fitting my rock with mining lasers, and I'm going to mine happily in a storage belt in nullsec. May not be the best use of the ship for. And why is that? It's because the hull is tailored toward a specific purpose. And also because the hull has specific ship bonuses that is going to matter when I ship modules into the ship, when I fit modules into the ship. Excuse my French here. So that's something we want to have with our structures. We want them to have bonuses. And those bonuses are going to matter when you guys want to fit various modules and service modules that are going to get you stuff. So for example, I could put some reprocessing module into an assembly array structure, but it may not be the best thing to do. So what are the structure roles? Well, I'm glad you asked. First one are assembly arrays. And what do assembly arrays do? Well, they assemble things. They are dedicated to production and manufacturing, and as we have right now, you can build stuff like modules, like ammunition, like components, fuel blocks, capital components, subsystems, and everyone's favorite chips. And of course, any kind of rigs, as I explained before, could be tied about making material efficiency, time efficiency, or even reduce NPC costs on those. At the bottom of the screen here, you can see like one high-level concept on how the manufacturing branch could work with the various progression, depending on which kind of skills you need and how many service modules you would have. Again, highly conceptual at this point, but it gives you a rough idea. And this will be available on the blog as well. Next on the line, we have research laboratories. And what do those do? Well, they do stuff related to science, which means being able to research material efficiency on your blueprints, or time efficiency, or doing copy, for example. Or, of course, Tech 2 or Tech 3 invention. And the rigs tied to those, what you have currently right now with the efficiency of those various activities, but we also want to push and give you guys more abilities, more bonuses for invention, especially on what you used to call reverse engineering. We also want to give you more bonuses tied to the success chance on top of like having the other variables you are used to right now. And something else we are considering those structures to be is to give you guys data cores. So data cores are currently coming from 2 or 3 places, if I remember properly. They're coming from the Functional Warfare LP store, they're coming from the RNS agents, and I'm not so sure about that one, about loot sites. I need to double check. Yeah, exploration sites. And we would like, at the very least, to remove the spawning of data cores from RNS agents and move them here. So what it will do is that if you put a data core spawning module in one of those structures, the structure will start spawning data cores in containers around it. And you could specify, of course, which field is going to spawn. And you could set it to be like corporation or alliance owned, or even maybe public owned. And then you could have a tax, so players coming in and just looting data cores will have to pay automatically, and it's more cooperation gameplay like this. So I think that's it for research laboratories. Yes. Next one, we have market and office hubs. And this means taking over the Galente outpost. So for those, trade-oriented, office-oriented, as I mentioned before, what we those do is stuff tied to the market. And for this, what we want to do is either, do you guys say either, do you say maybe either? Either do stuff where we are going to increase the NPC taxes on regular market, NPC market, or we are going to make those more profitable by having less taxes than the NPC equivalent to motivate you guys to go in those. What we are going to have as well is potentially take over things like Jump Clone, which is, again, an NPC service, and we want to give you guys as much control as possible on the universe. So it could be something that you guys do and provide on the corporation basis, for example. Something else we could do is that we know that you guys have ship replacement programs for you guys if they lose your ships, like in fleet fights. Well, maybe we could help you guys with that by having services that you guys set up for your corporation, and when one of your boys lose ships in wars, you can help replacing them. Of course, having those public-oriented may not be a good idea, like the way you guys love to scam each other. So you may want to be careful there. Then, those will take over customs office if you place them in your planets. And one last thing we are investigating is that right now, when you want to fit your ship, it's a bit annoying. You have to travel like a lot, like usually 20 jumps to get everything you want, except if you are in Jita, obviously. And something we would like to do is that if you want to fit low-volume items, well, maybe you can contract someone to do it for you. Yeah, maybe that guy that's over there. But maybe you can hire someone to do it for you. And of course, we don't want to kill hauling, because that's part of the Amazon gameplay. So it will be only for low volume, small quantity of items. So like I'm sitting in the station, I'm just ordering, give me this missile launcher, whatever. And what will happen is that an NPC convoy could spawn and just come to me. But the problem is the NPC convoy can be shot and disrupted. So if you want to use a service, you better make sure you control the space. Again, those are high-level ideas right now. So what we have next are the drilling platforms, and those they are going to focus on resource harvesting and first-hand processing. With reprocessing that we currently have with Mimatar outposts and various NPC stations in ISEC, well, all over the place. Then whatever we do with moon harvesting and reactions, possibly do gameplay or whatever, it will be there. It could help with mining, gas harvesting, like we are having ideas about having more gas clouds all over the place, or even those could create pollution clouds that you could do stuff with. So maybe it's something we would like to investigate. And the concept that has come up during our brainstorming is to have what we call heavy drilling. So it would be the idea of having releasing, spawning big, badass asteroid rock that you cannot mine with the current mining lasers for reasons like they're not powerful enough, and you have to use one of the structures nearby to just start drilling stuff, and then you will have like small bits coming out, and then you can just mine normally. And with this, you have like this creates some gameplay because you have to watch for your drilling structure, and you also have to watch over the bits that are coming out to make sure you can mine them, and you could have other guys coming to try to mine them away from you, or maybe this could be a taxable service depending on the drilling bits coming out. I hope I'm making any sense here. Next one, what structure you guys are going to love. It's called observatory arrays. And what do those do? Well, they focus on intelligence gathering and messing with stuff we've been taking for granted for a long while. For example, star map filters. If I'm currently hauling stuff or navigating in space, and I want to see what's going to happen in a few jumps from me, I press F10, look at the star map, and check, how many ships were lost in the last hour? So I look, 2,000 ships lost in the last hour. Which system is it? Amamake. Yeah, I may not want to go there. And with those structures, if you have one in the solar system, where maybe it could block this star map filter, so you will not see what's happening there. Or maybe, if you have one for your corporation, it will increase the filter. So maybe now, instead of having 2,000 guys, you will be able to see the name and the kill mails of all of these guys. So if you're an alliance leader, you're looking at those and, wait, one of my boys lost a Titan in a Mama cave. So like, again, being able to increase or decrease or mess with the star map filters. Then you have DScan, being able to increase or decrease the efficiency in DScan in the local system or around the structure when it's going to be deployed, being able to mess with ship intelligence, like probing, again, making it easier or more complicated, depending on which kind of module and bonuses those will have. Player tracker, which is something NPC agents do right now, and we want to move that into you guys' hands. So those structures could help you guys track other players. It could be similar to, what do you say, that phone services, like the more structures you have, the more powerful the service is going to be, like the faster you could reach one guy, or the more information you would have. Have to be careful on this. And yeah, we've heard that you guys, some of you guys, don't like AFK clocking. So maybe we could do something about that, you know, like details to be specified, but maybe if you stay too long in a system clock, well, you are going to be probable, or maybe those can send a pulse that knock off clock for everyone in the system. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. Yes, there's one guy very excited about that. That's good. That's good. Next in line, we have gates. And what gates do is movement stuff. So for the movement stuff, it could help make your shape go faster warp speed, or slower warp speed, or tweak with its agility or mass, just like you have in some wormhole effects. Could be fun. See what happens now. You could allow, of course, system jumps between several systems or within the same system. In the long term, we would like to have gates take over jump bridges and remove jump bridges if possible, but again, we'll see where this goes. Mess with what happens when you jump from one system to the next. It could increase the time you have clocked before you have to your unclock and then you are ganked, or it could mess with the distance you are from the Stargate when you jump into another system. Things to be discussed. And it could affect wormhole spawning somehow. It could affect the number of wormholes, the location of wormholes, the mass of wormholes. So stuff to be discussed about. And then we have administration hubs, and those are affecting solar system control. What do you mean by solar system control, Frenchy? Well, I mean territorial flag, if and when we move those from south. Affecting a security status. If you are in low and nullsec and you want to like tweak those up or down to have, like, for example, more safety or more rewards, you can like able to upgrade or downgrade a system according to your wishes. Not necessarily going to be easy for. Move NPC agents around, like you don't have NPC agents, or maybe you want to spawn those, or maybe you want to move those around, or maybe you want to screw other guys having agents in the system. NPC faction controls, if you have Angel Cartel in your territory and you prefer spikes, well, maybe you can switch them for Sentient Nation instead. If you have a weird fetishism with spikes. And then NPC security forces, but those you have to be careful. Like, obviously, you're not going to take Concord away from my sake, but maybe have like police force coming around in low and nullsec if you want to upgrade them and have more safety in your space. This stuff is to be debated, of course. Like. Next, we have advertisement centers. And what those do? Nothing. They do nothing except showing the rest of the world how big your EPIN is. So the thing they do is advertisement. We know that you guys love to use containers and have those messages within containers near Stargate to just have your little ads. So maybe that's something we could help you there. Take over billboards, having like various template content, and you guys could have your weird little advertisement there. Come join my corporation. We need super caps because we got kicked. Maybe not like this. I'm terrible salesman. And we know that you guys love shooting monuments, so how about we give you more of those? So what what we could give you is a big holographic statue, or like a big statue of your glorious alliance leader in a very manly pose. And then you could have those all over your solar systems, and then some of the enemies could come and just tag them, like, screw you, or things like this. So that's something to consider there. And I remember when we had the brainstorming about those in the CCP office, it was fairly civilized. There was no rock throwing, no baseball bat beating in the face, which is nice. Unless someone came up with this. So maybe we should allow you guys to do something with your, and to be careful, it's recorded here, frozen corpses. Like maybe you could just pile them up and have monuments, and if you right-click, you see everyone you ever killed. It's a bit creepy, I want to be careful, I don't want to get fired, like no. So obviously I won't tell every single idea that was in the brainstorming. Hopefully you get the idea of what you guys can do with frozen corpses. So, that's for the roles. A bit of a look at the visuals themselves about those structures. So we have a look at existing structures and what we love about them. Well, what we love about this one in particular is projected Alliance logo. And now that you guys have heard from the keynote that we are going to make Alliance logo submission open again, well, it could be a good opportunity to have those on most of the new structures, the bigger ones, for example. Or maybe if you're not in an alliance, you could have corporation logos floating around. Other things we are investigating is to have, of course, corp decals and have those skinnable, like ships, because why not, if you want all of your structures to look kind of black, if you give the option. That's something to consider. Something else we are investigating is to have more emphasis on the different structure states, like if the lights are turned on, if there is activity, you've got to see it. There is NPCs buzzing around, cleaning the windows of the stations. Or if it's dead in the water, like you have no activity, it's not spinning or anything. So you guys have more gameplay just by looking at the structure, instead of having to right-click, show info, like use a scanning mode. Something else we are considering is to have more visuals tied to the capacity of the structure. So if the structure is full of stuff, well, maybe you should be able to see that there are some containers near the docking point, or maybe if it's a trade hub that's very much used, or maybe you could see all of those billboards or like weird screens, propaganda stuff near the undock point as well. So, Frenchy, you told us about fitting the structures, about like the various stuff, but how do I get my hands on those? Well, when this is going to get out, for the Tech 1 variations, of course, we want you to be able to acquire the blueprint original from the market or from some other guys through the contract that bought it for you. And then you are going to manufacture it like you do right now, and you drag and drop it. It's as simple as that. And only when it's deployed can you choose how am I going to configure it. So there will be no more configure do I want to launch for corp or self. Something else we are really keen on having is that if you are in an alliance and you have the permission from your glorious alliance leader, there should be nothing prevent you guys from deploying one of the structures for personal use. And also, if you want to set one of those to public, if you want to say, well, I mean, I want to provide trading services in ISEC for all of those poor suckers and tax them to death. Well, I mean, maybe you should be able to do that, like deploy those structures, set them to public, have a tax, and get the money flowing. The housing, yeah, we need to be careful with the housing because all of those new structures are going to be destructible. So what's going to happen to your stuff inside those, we need to be very aware about. So first things about ship docking. So if the structure is big enough and your ship is small enough, you could just go and dock in there, like you have currently. But if your E-pane is too large for that, then maybe you could have like mooring. So the concept of mooring is that as long as your ship is within a specific range of the structure, and you just accept the mooring, of course, your ship will become invulnerable and cannot be bumped. And this will remove the force field mechanics we currently have in game. And you could go away and you'll be protected and this kind of stuff. Of course, if the structure is destroyed, then people could grab your ship. But another question is that what's going to happen to the items inside the structures? Like, if you make all of the items destructible, well, what's the point of me of having one of the structures? I will just take 2 NPC stations. So again, we need to be very careful here what we do. So we have different options we are investigating, and those are not the only one on the list, but they are the more prominent. So one of them could be return, it's a bad picture. We return those structures into wreck, and all of the modules that were fitted on the structure itself would possibly drop as loot, but the stuff inside could only be recovered by the proper rightful owners. So like if I'm a corporation and one of my structures just blew up, well, maybe I should be able to salvage my stuff, but only I can salvage my stuff back. Or if I'm just a guy that was using the structure to fit my ship, and I left my ship there and the structure blew up, well, I can still get my ship back somehow from the salvage of this wreck. If you are docked at the time, you will still be inside the wreck somehow, unless you choose to undock, and now you just are in space and you can't dock back. So the gameplay with this will not be, we lost all of your assets, we are screwed, and more about we need to control the space around the structure which was shut down to make sure we can move the assets around. Ideally, we want to move the assets before it blows up. Another thing we could do is that when a structure is blown up, you have entries in your journal appearing, just like you have for planetary launches, for planetary interaction. So you have all your move stuff is moved toward planets, and no one can access it. The containers are not available, are not visible until the rightful owners just go to the bookmark, warp there, and then the container will appear with the stuff. And then they can start taking the items back, and then of course they can be probed. So like that's a vulnerable spot. And again, you would have to be very careful about controlling the space around the structure after it's been blown up. Another option we could have, which is not listed here, is that we could have the items move automatically from one structure to the next if it's destroyed, but like it could be a bit game-breaking. So we are investigating that as well. Next in line, we have protection and capture, and this is still being investigated. And the most clever guys around you, when we talked about the models, noticed there was no defensive EHP or resistance models listed on the mid or low slots. That's because it's going to depend on the protection and capture gameplay tied with the structures. Like, because those are going to be heavily tied with like all of those bleak flights and what's going to happen, like regarding them in like in nullsec or whatever, it may not be the best idea to bring structure grinding back. So we are considering various options. We are talking with the soft guys to make sure the gameplay is unified, so potentially using entorsis models. And when we have more information, we will come back to you guys on this specific point. Next, we have management of the structures. We want this to be less annoying than it is currently. So you should be able to see the states of the structures that you have, if you have roles, of course, and you have them listed properly, you have the various settings, and you can create and apply profiles to multiple structures at once, and you don't have to actually go in space near the structure to configure it. Yes, yeah, more stuff here, like we could use a tag system from customs office, and we can also have like, we set up roles instead of having those big tables of doom where we list every single possible role with a tick box. We could instead have you guys type the roles as you do when you type a mail. So I want this structure field to be applicable to all of the directors. I'm taking directors and just auto-filling, or all the config managers and so on. So it's less eye gouging to use roles and apply them in a structure. Transition plan, or what's going to happen to your stuff when we start having those new structures. Well, let's take the examples of those 4 starbase and outposts there. What will happen to them? Well, whenever we release, for example, a new structure that take over manufacturing from those 2, we would remove the bonuses from existing starbases and outposts, and give you guys a grace period of whatever amount of time. And now, the new bonuses will be applied to the new structure we released. After this amount of time, you will have a second grace period where now you cannot manufacture in Starbase and Outpost anymore. You have to use the new structures. And finally, in the long future, when we finally get rid of every single last function of Starbases and Outpost, only then are we going to remove those or like allow those to be destroyed, for example. So that's a plan on how we want to move forward so far with the structures. Oh, okay, we got at the end. That's good. No people died during this presentation. So I think we are running out of time. I don't have a clock on me, so if you've got questions, please come to the structure roundtable right now, roundtable 4 Zeta, from 2 to 3, and you have a blog coming out at 3 if you understood nothing on what I was trying to communicate to you right now. So thanks for coming, guys. Have a good Fanfest.